Hello there, Bill again. We started working on the frame stiffeners, which is kind of the next thing before we get too far along. What we've got over here, let me turn the camera around, is a pile of parts. It's like a puzzle. So all these pieces, we figured out where they went and marked them, and that way we know where they go and we don't weld the wrong thing in at the wrong time. We can piece everything together and start going. That's the one frame stiffener. It's the iron rock setup, and so we go over here. You notice we got the Jeep on a roller stand now. That way we can move it around in the shop. So here's the one side that we've got started. And you can see this stuff fits really nice. Lays right in there. They're straight panels, but they have relief cuts in them so that whenever you take a C-clamp or some sort of device like that, you can bend them right into place, and they fit just like they were made for it, surprisingly enough. And then under here, we've got this one partially welded in. And the bottom, we've got the frame cleaned up and ready to put the stiffener on it. Go around here. And this side, again, we've got it partially welded in. Got to do a little grinder and flap wheel work, do a little finish welding, and then the Ironman 4x4 fab triangulated cross member setup will weld right to this piece. And you can see how heavy that is, so it's going to withstand a lot of stress. All right. So let's get to welding. Okay, here I am a little dirty-faced later. Any of you guys that have done this know that this isn't the cleanest job in the world, but I thought I'd stop for a moment and explain what I was doing over here. I'm on the left side right now, and on the right side there isn't much going on. It's pretty much a welded in place deal. There's a couple things you have to worry about, but on this side, as you know, you got the steering box bolts, you got the motor mount bolts, you got the front track bar stuff, and a lot going on. And so as you can see, there's lots of turns and twists. You know, I have to form this thing into place. It comes as a flat panel, and so this is obviously not a flat surface. So like in this area right here, you can see I have a gap, so I'm going to have to move this back toward the frame a little bit more. And the reason it's sticking up is because of the reinforcement for the steering box. You know, you leave that in place whenever you're doing this. You know, here is another area that's needing pushed in a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that I fastened the motor mount bracket on the other side and had this sandwiched in tight, so that whenever I weld it, it's already pulled in tight and there's no chance of it moving whenever I get to that point. Whenever I go to the inside, I'll be doing the same exact thing. So let's get back to it. Okay, that's about enough for today. Get my junk out of the way here. So I've got it pretty much welded up. Got to do a little grinder work and tidy it up a little bit. But a couple things here that you might be able to see, you might not on the video, but I'll show you anyway. So if you see, I got to tidy that weld up a little bit, but this is all welded right in and reinforced right into the plates, motor mounts as well. This one is recessed in deep enough, and it's actually factory that way. So I'll clean this up a little bit, but I'm not going to weld that flush like this one. Something I don't care for is this emblem or whatever it is that they cut in there. It's hard to see in the video. Let's see if I can get a lighter. You can see the gap up in there, and where we run in the mud and all that stuff, that's just inviting dirt and rust and everything else to start forming in there. So I think I'm going to make a plate and weld that up and cover it up. You know, if they wanted to do something like that, that would be fine, and they could have put it right here, and it wouldn't have been in this area here. But there's a natural dip in the frame right there that runs along here, and it's right over top of that. So I want to get that sealed up. Anyway, a little tidying and prettying it up, and we'll move on. So here's where we're at right at the moment. Let's take a look. I've got, let me get out here so I'm not right in your face. I've got the engine compartment and the front suspension area stiffeners all welded in. But let's take a look here and I'll show you where we're at. So you can see, nice setup right here. Everything fits nice. This actually comes as a flat plate, and you have to bend it into place, and it fits well. This is the other side, pre-grinder, prettying up. This is the outside. I mentioned that I don't like these at all, so I'm going to weld something over there, a plate or something to pretty that up. I don't like how there's a void here. You know, it's just an area where water and mud and everything can get up in there and create issues. So what I got to do yet is weld these two pieces in, and these go right up there and sit like that. They'll work out well, but one thing you can see, these holes don't line up at all. So I'm gonna have to open those up. And as I was pondering that, I got to thinking, you know, we've got a lot of work to do to this front bumper area when we build this winch setup that's gonna be, you know, we're taking all this front stuff off of here, and you know, we'll tuck the winch up in there as close to the condenser and the radiator as we can without causing an issue. Plus we'll be adding width to the front end of this by doing, you know, we have a plate in here that we welded, and we have a plate out here that we welded. So before I commit to that, I'm going to think about the front bumper a little bit more. So on the rear, I started working on that, and you can see these things lay right in there. You probably saw in the time lapse that I was scratching my head trying to figure out how in the world they went in there. Well, one thing that was throwing me, if you look, here is a slot they cut, and here is a slot they cut. But the problem is there was nothing here for this area. And what this is a seat belt and seat reinforcement. So I didn't want to tamper with that. So I ended up cutting my own slot here. Let me show you on the other side. See, this one's only got 2. And as you lay it up in place, you can see this lines up. There should be a slot there. I don't know what in the world happened there, whether it was, you know, this is for something else. I've seen a bunch of ZJs and I've never seen anything different than this setup right here. So I don't know why that's like that. So I think I'm going to hold off on the rear stiffeners right now. Again, we're going to be adding a bumper to this thing and doing all kinds of things to it back here. I want to cut all this stuff out yet. You know, we don't need that anymore. No sense in hauling it around. What I'm going to work on now is I've got the left side frame stiffener in there and welded, and I think I'm going to work on the right side here, and once I get that one welded up in, then I can mount the Ironman Fab 4x4 cross member in there. And I've got the engine block back from the machine shop. I've got a bell housing and a transmission and the Atlas transfer case, so I can now get the drive line mocked up so that we have that done. And then I'll probably work on the suspension and maybe getting the axles under it. So stay tuned for some more time lapse, and we'll talk to you soon. That's a funny thing with a bunch of welding. I just ran out of wire, so I'm gonna have to change that. But let me show you where I'm at right at the moment. I don't know why I keep putting that right in my face, but here, let me get it away a little bit. So anyway, I've got the left rear stiffeners all tacked in place. You noticed on the front where the lower control arm mount was, there was a lot of thickness right there, so I wanted to take that out of there. We don't need it anyway because we're putting that triangulated long arm in. So this bracket here on the passenger side will be going too. But I took that out of there, got this side tacked up. Some things that take a little bit of effort is forming this around here. We have extra thickness here because of this brace, and remember our slot that we have no idea why it's there, and I had to cut this other slot, but I had to make sure that I was up against the frame down here, so I had to actually bend that metal around, and you can kind of see the thickness difference between here and here. So now I'll just once I get my MIG wire changed, I'll finish these plug welds up and continue on.